Do you have a book idea? Well, let me teach you how to turn that idea into a story. Hey Riley besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. In today's video, I am so excited to be getting into how to exactly plan your novel from absolute scratch. This is if you just got a book idea, you have no idea what to do, and you just want to see it turn into a plot. You want to see characters come together, settings come together, and plot beats come together to create your story. Before we get onto the video, I do want to say that this video is sponsored by Tailors. I actually have worked with Tailors before, and I'm so excited to be sharing Tailors 2 with you guys, which is an updated version of the amazing Tailors, which is the next generation application for authors and writers alike, just like you. The new update in Tailors 2 is packed with so many amazing features that will help streamline your brainstorming process and also writing process, proofreading process. Tailors can take you through the whole journey of becoming a writer and finishing your projects. Tailors 2 includes so many different templates, including these amazing character sheets where you can explore your characters' personalities and also character backgrounds super easily, because it not only helps your characters but also your plotting of your story. In Tailors 2, you can look at your project from a bird's eye view and see the different plot points in the different timelines of which your story takes place. And you can also have your personal writing assistant, which is literally so cool. You can easily improve your writing through this enhance option. You just got to click on this little button that says enhance, and it helps you improve your writing almost immediately. Something about me is I always feel stuck whenever I don't know properly how to phrase something. I'm just stuck with like how to word something on one sentence, and this interrupts my drafting process. But with Tailors, you can actually just click rephrase, and you're able to have your own words kind of mumbled and jumbled up to make a new sentence that basically just says what it did before but sounds a lot more nuanced. But that is not all. Something else new in Tailors 2 is the dictate function. Literally verbalize your story and brainstorm or write through your words when you speak it out loud. This is so much better than just recording your voice, which is also great to do, but with Tailors 2, you can actually see your story come together on the page where it actually writes down the words that you're saying. There are so many other different features I can talk about for like literally days, because Tailors has so many amazing features, but I especially just adore the workspace of Tailors. I think it's so accommodating for writers in whatever stage you're at in your writing process, whether that be brainstorming, plotting, drafting, or even proofreading. I've been really enjoying kind of just highlighting and making notes on the side of my project, which is actually on Tailors like directly, so I don't have to go to another document to make notes. I have the notes right there on that exact same page, which is seriously a lifesaver when I'm drafting and needing to make notes. I have not seen any other writing platform with this many features as Tailors 2 has. So you want to try Tailors out? There is an exclusive Kickstart offer where you can actually access Tailors 1 for free. But as of literally today, Tailors 2 has just launched, so all those sorts of new features I've talked about, it's launching today. You can now access a 50% reduction in Tailors 2 for 1 year today if you go check out their Kickstarter page down below. I'll link it all in the description so you guys can check Tailors out, and you have until November 20 to secure your exclusive benefits and start your writing journey using Tailors 2 below. So click the link in the description. I really encourage you, especially if you're a beginner, to check out Tailors. I think they'll definitely help you through the writing process, and it's really taught me how writing is so much more than a simple Word document. So yeah, I really encourage you guys to get started with Tailors 2 today. And I actually want to be quickly showing you guys my Tailors page right there in the background to kind of give you a little taste and overview of what we're going to be getting into in today's video. So let's go ahead and get onto it. Alrighty besties, so this is actually my brainstorming planning page on tailors.io. It's called Project Ashes. And this is what my sort of project looks like. And as I said, it's called Project Ashes, and this is a very kingdom-esque story. But as you can see over here, there's sort of like a organizational structure where you can organize your particular pages within your project. This is really helpful because I just have my project bio here, and then I go ahead and click on my brainstorming folder, and I have all of my pages very aesthetically organized. First we have world building. This is a little sneak peek. Then we have characters, which is also very important. And then lastly, plot. But these are the main things I'm going to be explaining in today's video. So yeah, let's go ahead and get on to the actual how to plan your book from scratch. Okay, so the first thing, as I said, you guys should brainstorm your project bio. This is basically a little taster of the direction of your project, and I think this is something that I never miss because I think it's so important to kind of ensure that you know exactly what you're writing. Even if you're just starting off with an idea, I feel like it's pretty easy to tell what sort of project you're writing. So you can go ahead and actually fill in your project title, which usually can just create something really cool. I love kind of using acronyms or sort of like representative names such as Project Ashes. It's not the real name, but it's just the project name, so I don't get, you know, confused with all of my other projects. And then genre, you know, what sort of story are you going to write? Is it paranormal? Is it sort of fantastical? Mysterious elements, like a mystery? Or perhaps it's a romance or a jumble of these. Just list them all here so you can kind of just dive into the sort of vibes of your story. And this is also really great for when you eventually go ahead and get stuff from Pinterest that you can write and type in fantasy, romance, aesthetic, and you can get a whole bunch of amazing Pinterest pins that you can add to your project pages and tailors or whatever writing application you're using. Then you have tropes, and tropes to me is really important because I think if you're a writer, you're most definitely a reader and someone who adores different tropes, whether that be enemies to lovers, which not my cup of tea, but I understand the hype. Or perhaps found family, chosen one, prophecy, stuff like that. You can even go more specific into more scene tropes, like the one bed trope. Whatever's your cup of tea, put it in there so we can just note it down. And next we have word count. This is just kind of like a lofty goal, so you can kind of just, you know, organize when we eventually get into plotting what sort of story you're gonna write. Usually if you're a fantasy, you're writing maybe 80 to 100 plus K. If it's more of a romance, around 50 to 60K. And it honestly doesn't have to be a strict number, but whatever genre you're writing, maybe look that up if you're kind of unsure of what sort of word count you will have for your project. Okay, so now that we finished that and kind of figured out a little bio for your project, which also I can just say is really good for when you're explaining your book to people, when you're kind of overwhelmed because you haven't really planned your story yet or kind of know the depths of it, you can just say, oh, I'm writing a historical romance. It's a great way to kind of just say, I'm writing a book. I don't know what it's truly about yet. I have an idea, but I'm not going to get into it because I will rant because that always happens to me. But now it's time for brainstorming. Woo! This is the most important part and the part that I'm really excited to explain to you guys. So listen up, besties, because we're gonna get real deep into it. The most important thing about brainstorming is keeping it simple. I don't know if you know the KISS analogy, not analogy, acronym. That means keep it simple, stupid. I feel like that's really important with brainstorming, and I especially love to obviously organize this into 3 different parts, which is brainstorming, then characters, then plotting. And I think in this order, that is the most important order to go because it kind of just like allows you to get introduced into the world, then into the characters, and then therefore the story's impact on those characters, and therefore the world. It kind of goes back and forth. I hope you guys get that actually order is important. So let's start with world building. Here we're going to talk about the settings, the politics, and the magic. These, I argue, are the most important things to get your story hit on the ground running, so you can kind of just understand basically where your story is set. Settings, of course, is the places of your story. It can include the weather, the sorts of types of biomes. Maybe it's very hilly, maybe it has lots of high peaks, a lot of mountains, maybe it's taking place in a desert or a high school. Just kind of write what sort of setting you think will best tell the story and best kind of serve your idea. This should kind of come naturally. For example, if you want to write a story about a high school girl, it's gonna be set in a high school. If you want it to be maybe about, I don't know, outer space, you know, like a sci-fi book, you're gonna want it to be on a different planet, you know what I mean, or in a spaceship. You just kind of list different settings. Maybe if you have any ideas about where the characters go, maybe they travel, maybe you want to list the character's hometown, maybe some forbidden places, you know, just really think about settings. And if you need help, definitely go onto Pinterest and just type in whatever genre you have and then say settings or places, and then aesthetic at the end, because aesthetic is important with Pinterest and searching up things. But yeah, that's basically what you do, and you get ideas and just kind of like push them in there. And just really focus on the main settings of where the story takes place and where it can lead to. Next up, we have politics. Politics is basically people and what is going on in this world. Is it peaceful? Is there a war? Usually it's one or the other, to be honest. This can also include the sort of social system and specifically where your character comes from. Are they a peasant? You know, are they just a normal high school boy? Maybe there's actual politics within the high school. Think about that. It can be also on a micro and macro level, but just try to be general here. Try to just think about what will best, again, serve your idea and best serve your story, because the settings and the actual politics of your story, and of course the magic, which we'll get into, will impact where your character comes from and how they're able to move throughout the story and achieve what they want to achieve. So just think about the politics. Is there a kingdom? Is there a monarchy? Is there faction governments? Think about that. Next, of course, we have magic, and this is dependent on whether or not you are writing a fantastical more so, or a sci-fi, something more like that, where there's a magic system. Kind of tether this to a particular entity. For example, in Project Ashes, I'm kind of going through elemental magic and kind of just listing some of the laws. And I kind of had the idea as I was brainstorming this, yeah, that there's a shadow guy or like this shadow sorcerer who basically turns elemental magic into shadows and kind of dark magic, which basically quells and sucks out the elemental magic of other people, which I thought was really, really interesting. So think about the laws of magic. Is there a good, bad side? You know, how do people get the magic? Is it via blood, or perhaps it is via study and lots of studious students having to go to an academy? Is it perhaps a dying sort of magic? Is it good to have magic in your world? Is it bad to have magic in your world? Like, what is the deal here? Just think about all those things, and again, go to Pinterest if you need some support, or even just look up different sort of magic things. Like maybe it's based off mythology, maybe it's an animalistic sort of magic, maybe it's again elemental, maybe it's based on gems and stones. Like, think about this and just have fun, because truly, as I said, brainstorming is supposed to be fun. Next up, we have characters, which admittedly I love. Obviously, I mean, if you don't have characters in your book, there is no book. What we're gonna do here is focus on your main characters. So who is gonna be the main cast in your story? Usually I focus on 2 characters. In this case, I'm focusing on a set of twins, these 2 sisters, which are very, very cool. They're actually descendants from this mysterious god of this ancient city. I didn't know, and then they kind of fight for power and end up turning on each other. But how I kind of brainstormed that is going through this. What are the characters' drives? What are the characters' relationships with each other, i.e. the foils, so how the characters impact each other, and really bring out different things about their personality. And thirdly, what is their character arc? I.e., how do they physically and mentally change within the story. This will usually impact their drives, and their drives, or what they want in the story, will usually impact who they become. The main thing here is how your characters change. So this is the character arc. You can kind of see they start here, then stuff happens to them throughout the story, people betray them, maybe they discover that they are long descendants from an ancient god, blah 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 blah. Maybe they meet somebody, they fall in love, but they betray them, and then they become here. Usually it's either a boom, like a down spiral where they go bad, that's one of the sisters, or maybe it's an upscale where the experiences make them instead of break them. For example, one of the characters in Project Ashes, she is kind of like the underdog, the younger sister who has always wanted love. So she ends up actually falling in love with the magic sorcery man, the shadow sorcerer, because he kind of manipulates her in a way that kind of like, this is love, like your sister is wrong, your mother, who is the god, is like actually this and that's like her downfall. So her trusting him and meeting him, and kind of her sort of preconceptions and also selfishness of wanting to be better than her sister, kind of leads her to her eventual, not demise, but kind of like demise. Whereas her sister instead kind of is challenged by her sister's sudden betrayal, and instead relies on her newfound city, which obviously support her because she is the returning child or returning daughter of the city, and she eventually ends up saving the city and resurrecting her mother. Something like that, you know what I mean? So really think about who your characters are, and that obviously is defined by their drives. What do they want in the story? What do they want from other people? Do they want justice? Do they want revenge? Think about all this stuff. And then of course their relationship with each other in terms of these sisters starts good, ends bad. And that obviously impacts how they're viewed in the story. And basically, yeah, kind of seeing who is the bad sister, who is the good sister. And the question is whether or not they'll make amends at the end of the book. So just make sure your characters change. That is the main point I need to get across in this section. A lot of beginner writers do forget that their characters are real people, so real people truly do change. People change you, circumstance changes you. It either makes you more bitter or maybe it makes you more strong. Just think about how different people will experience things differently. That's expressed to these sisters, but eventually they end up going different ways, i.e. changing as people. So that's characters. Let's move on to plot, which I'm sure you guys are very excited to hear. Plotting is really, really difficult, but I challenge you to do a 1-sentence summary of your book. I feel like we have a sort of idea of what our story will be right now. What do you actually want to tell within your book? What plot do you think will serve your characters to make their drives and how they change most known throughout the story? My project bio, I'm going to go to right here. In plot, the 1-sentence summary is this. 2 twins discover that they are the last descendants of a fallen god, the god of the ancient city of Narina. They both must unite a fractured realm to combat a dark sorcerer that killed their mother. But will their hunger for power break the sisters and the prophecies apart? That kind of slays, to be honest. And I just came up with that on the fly. This 1-sentence summary does not need to be crazy. It doesn't even need to stay the same. You don't need to follow it. It's just a way to put you on the spot to write an idea, a really crazy idea, and just think about the tropes again that you listed before. Think about the characters, think about the perhaps the villains of your story, the heroes, and the settings and the politics. How does that all influence and become the plot? Because truly the characters within this world that's ever changing will create the plot, if that makes sense. Because when you think about the plot, it's just listing stuff that happens, but the plot, it's kind of hard to explain, but I hope you know what I mean. Where like the plot isn't really like, it's just a reflection of what's happening between the world and the characters, you know what I mean? So once you have a 1-sentence summary, which is amazing, if you're able to pause the video now and try that out, I really encourage you to do so, because I think truly you'll get inspired and perhaps even surprise yourself. So try it. I dare you. Of course, so we're going to look at the acts of your story. I say that there's 4 acts in a story. That's the beginning, which is where your story starts. Basically, this is, yeah, where your characters are at the start of the book. And something needs to be an inciting incident of which changes this ordinary life your characters have. When you think about it, you don't start your story when your characters are having a great time for years. Like, you don't start in their childhood when nothing happens. They just go to school, go through grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. You don't start there. You don't write the whole book around those years. Instead, you start when something is about to shift, when something is about to go upside down, change your character's life forever. In this case, Project Ashes is where the characters find out that they're actually descendants from this god. And that changes their life because now they're spiraled on a quest to find the ancient city. So that's the beginning. Next is the rising. This is basically where your characters find what they need to do and they are going out to do it. Usually this is in a quest. Usually this is maybe them finding out like this mystery, going someplace. Usually that's the sort of arc of, you know, your characters start here, ordinary life, they find something out, then they need to move, they need to go somewhere, they need to, this sort of new revelation has changed their actions and has made them seek something, and this is what sparks the drive of the characters that we were talking about previously. And as your story progresses, this problem usually becomes worse or is multiplied by other multiple problems or other pressures from different things. Maybe there's a rebel group, maybe there's this dark sorcerer that's come into light, maybe the characters start to kind of distrust each other like they do in Project Ashes. All these sort of external things really rile up the story and aggravate the problem. Then the climax is them getting to the problem, and the question is whether they're going to solve it or not. If you need help, think about your characters, think about what is the climax of the story and how they think the problem will be solved, whether that be a huge battle, whether that be them finally being able to break a curse. Think about what sort of things will make or break the story. Usually it's the most exciting part of a book and something you want your readers to absolutely obsess over and really anticipate throughout the whole story. Then of course it's the resolution. This is usually happy days, depends on if you want to maybe do a hook or a sort of plot twist, where it kind of has a cliff ending, but usually it's basically what happens after the problem is solved or not. Does characters die? Do they make up? Is the curse broken? Is the war won? Is the solution as it seems? How are the characters? I hope they're still alive, basically. And yeah, just think about where your characters end up in the end. So that is how you brainstorm your novel. I hope this kind of helped you a little bit in just understanding the sort of elements you have in your brainstorming sort of journey. And yeah, maybe also got some ideas from me telling you a bit about Project Ashes, which is just a fun passion project, truly, or just kind of giving some examples throughout this video. And of course, I really encourage you guys to check out Taylor's 2 down below. Go check out their Kickstart offer down below because they're just launching it today. I'm so excited to see how this influences my brainstorming and writing and proofreading sort of journey within my projects. And yeah, so if you want to actually brainstorm using all of these tips in today's video, do it through Taylor's 2. I really encourage them, and yeah, thank you so much Taylor's for sponsoring today's video. And yeah, I wish you guys luck in your new projects. Okay, I love you all. See you!